This is exam 1 review, spring 23. Question number 4. For question number 4 and 5 and 6, questions like that, you are expected to give exact answers. So even the question says round to one decimal at some point, you will need still to write exact answers. So I'm going to go over question number 4. If cosine theta is equal to -1/6 and theta is in the second quadrant, what is the exact value for sine? So I'm going to sketch here, and I expect you to do the same thing. I'm going to focus on the second quadrant only, since that is what we have here. Here is a right triangle. I'm going to create a right triangle, and theta is this angle right here, and then I have cosine theta, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So I have the adjacent right there, which is equal to -1. And then the hypotenuse is always positive, so this is 6, positive 6. Now I'm going to find the missing side, which is y in this case. I need to find y. I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. I know that 6 squared is equal to y squared plus -1 squared. Don't forget to put parentheses around your negative number. So now 36 is equal to y squared plus 1, which means y squared is equal to 36 minus 1. Y squared is equal to 36 and 35, sorry. And then we're going to take the square root for both sides of the equation. And since y is positive, we're going to take the positive. So usually when we take the square root, we say positive or negative. And in this case, we're looking at y, and y is positive, so I'm going to pick the positive answer. These will cancel. We have y is the square root of 35. I'm going to leave it as a radical like that one. So this is square root of 35. Now, we need sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite to angle theta is square root of 35. So square root of 35 over the hypotenuse, which is 6. So that is the exact answer. For question number 5, we need to find the following. If you have theta is 5 pi over 6, then we need to find sine theta and cosine theta. This needs you to recall the unit circle. Let me sketch the unit circle here really quick. I'll try to sketch it very quick here. Pi over 6 is basically this right here. So this is pi over 6. We know that. So this is square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. Now 5 pi over 6, we know that 2 pi over 6 is right here, which is basically, this is 2 pi over 6, which is also pi over 3. And then 3 pi over 6 is pi over 2, so this is 3 pi over 6, and this is 4 pi over 6, which reduces to 2 pi over 3. And then we have 5 pi over 6. So 5 pi over 6 is exactly the same angle, but it's in the second quadrant. So if you look at the reference angle, it is this angle right here, which is equivalent to pi over 6. So the reference angle is the same as pi over 6, but it's in the second quadrant. In the second quadrant, only the x value is negative, so negative square root of 3 over 2, but the y value is still positive. So now sine is 1/2, and we know that the sine is the y coordinate, and then the cosine is the x coordinate. So now cosine is negative square root of 3 over 2, and that is the exact answer for question number 5. For question number 6, we have sine theta is equal to -3/7, and theta is in the third quadrant. Although it says here round to one decimal, I'm just going to remove that. I'm going to give exact answers. So we're working in the third quadrant. I'm going to focus on the third quadrant. And I'm going to create a right triangle in the third quadrant. And here is theta right here. We have sine theta, which is opposite over the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always positive, so that is 7. And then the opposite is -3. We need to find the adjacent, which is in this case x. We know that 7 squared is equal to -3 squared plus x squared. So 49 is equal to 9, positive 9, negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 3, positive 9. So don't forget that. Many students will make mistake and they will only square the 3 and leave the negative out. So don't do that. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides of the equation. You have x squared is equal to 40. And again, we have to take the square root for both sides of the equation, positive, negative. And now, since x side here is negative, I'm going to choose the negative answer. So x is equal to square root of 40, negative square root of 40, which we can break down to negative 4 times 10. The 10 stays inside, and the 4 square root of 4. So this is negative square root of 4 times square root of 10, which is negative 2 square root of 10. So we can split multiplication, not addition, not subtraction, but we can only split radicals if they have multiplication under the radical. So the x is equal to negative 2 square root of 10. I'm going to leave it like that. And now I'm going to compute and rationalize. Cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, adjacent here to theta. Now let me actually mark them. So now here is theta, it's not changing, so that is the adjacent, and this is the opposite, and this is the hypotenuse. Now I can work. Adjacent over hypotenuse is negative 2 square root of 10 over 7. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so negative 3 over 2 square root of 10. We need to rationalize, so we're going to multiply by square root of 10 over square root of 10. So we have here negative 3 square root of 10 over 2 times 10, which is 20. So 2 from the start, and then square root of 10 times square root of 10 is 10. 2 times 10 is 20. Secant is the reciprocal of sine. We have sine given in the question, so the reciprocal of cosine, not sine. Let me erase that actually. Is the reciprocal of cosine, so secant is the reciprocal of cosine, which means we're going to have 7 over negative 2 square root of 10. Again, we're going to rationalize here. So we're going to say times square root of 10 over square root of 10. And that is going to give us 7 square root of 10 over negative 20, or we can put the negative here and then say 20 in the denominator. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, which means that cosecant theta is equal to negative 7 over 3. And finally, cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. I'm going to take the reciprocal of tangent from here. So this is equal to 7 over, not 7, I was looking in a different place here. It's going to be 2 square root of 10 over negative 3. You can put the negative up, but that is the answer for cotangent. So this is the cotangent right here. Question number 7 is similar to the previous questions, and you will be asked to find the exact answer. So let me answer that really quick. I have tangent and sine is less than 0. Looking at all students take calculus, it says here sine is less than 0, and notice how both of them are positive, 5 and 4, which means there are limited options. First of all, sine is negative in the third quadrant and in the fourth quadrant. But it cannot be in the fourth quadrant, since in the fourth quadrant the y is negative, and we see that it is positive here. So we needed tangent positive and sine is negative. That is only one quadrant that satisfies that, which is the third quadrant. So you have to look at both this condition and what we have to determine the exact quadrant we're working in. So it is the third quadrant. I'm going to try to sketch the theta here. You have tangent theta, which is, this is adjacent, this is opposite, this is hypotenuse. So tangent is opposite over adjacent, 4. And now we're going to say the hypotenuse square, which is usually we say r, squared. The hypotenuse squared is equal to 5 squared plus 4 squared, which is hypotenuse squared is equal to 25 plus 16. So the hypotenuse squared is equal to 41, and then the hypotenuse will be the square root of 41. Of course, it is the positive one because the hypotenuse is always positive, and that will give me the hypotenuse square root of 41. All right, now I'm going to answer the question. Sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse, so 5 over square root of 41. I'm going to rationalize, so I'm going to multiply by square root of 41 over square root of 41. I will get 5 square root of 41 over 41. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so same thing for divided by square root of 41, rationalize square root of 41 over square root of 41, which is equal to 4 square root of 41 divided by 41. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so I'm just going to reciprocate this fraction, so it's going to be square root of 41 over 4. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so I'm just going to reciprocate the first part here, which is square root of 41 over 5. And then cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Tangent is given in the question, so the reciprocal of tangent is 4 over 5. And that's the answer. For question number 8, we are given a point, and then we need to find all of the missing trig ratios. Again, in this case, we absolutely need the exact answer, and we're not going to round our answers to any decimals. You can round and check with the key later, but basically what we're doing here is basically computing an exact answer because we can. All of those questions don't require any calculators to do. So I'm going to determine in which quadrant this is. The x is negative and the y is positive. That is the second quadrant. If you plot this point, it's about negative 11 and 6 approximately here. So here is negative 11 and here is 6, and we're going to create that triangle right there. So that is negative 11, and we know the height is 6 or y is 6, and we need to find the hypotenuse. I'm going to say r in this case. So we know that r squared is equal to negative 11 squared plus 6 squared. R squared is equal to 121 plus 36. R is equal squared is equal to 157. R is equal to square root of 157, the positive one, of course, because always R is positive, 157. Now I'm going to compute those ratios. Sine, oh, it's beta, not theta. Let me just change that. So it's beta. Sine beta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, so 6 over square root of 157 times 157, square root of 157 over 157. To rationalize, that is 6 square root of 157 over 157. Beta, cosine beta is adjacent over hypotenuse, so negative 11 over square root of 157, which is, we're going to rationalize 157 over square root of 157. It's equal to negative 1 square root of 157 over negative 11 square root of 157 over 157. Tangent beta is equal to opposite over adjacent, which is 6 over negative 11. I could put the negative in the numerator or the denominator or in the middle. It doesn't really matter. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Again, I'm going to reciprocate this part. So it's going to be square root of 157 over 6. And then secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Again, I'm going to reciprocate this part. So it is going to be negative square root of 157 over 11. Again, it doesn't matter whether you include the negative in the numerator or the denominator. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. We computed the tangent right here. So I'm going to reciprocate that, which is equal to negative 11 over 6. And that is the answer for number 8. I will come back with a video for the rest of the questions.